What is going on, everybody? I am Jamie Shaw. I am joined by my co-host on The Breakdown, Coach Scott Spinelli. Scott, how's it going today?
Jamie, so good to see you. Doing awesome. Thank you, my man. I hope you're doing well and, all is good up here. Special thanks once again to Dana Barrows, Travis, Stephanie, and the entire staff here for allowing us to produce and direct our show, at this incredible basketball facility out here in Stoneham, Massachusetts, the Dana Barrows Basketball Club.
Before we jump into episode 7 and give you the full breakdown of Miami, I want to introduce ourselves to you so you know who you're listening to. I am Jamie Shaw, National Recruiting Analyst at Rivals.com. I am the owner and the author of one of the largest scouting services in the country, the ABC Basketball Scouting. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, Jamie, obviously I'm from, with my accent, you probably could tell I'm from Massachusetts. I got that strong East Coast Massachusetts accent, but, I've had the opportunity over the years, Jamie, to work at every level of basketball, starting in prep school as a head coach, climbing up the ranks, to most every level of Division I, different parts of the United States, and most of these different jobs that I've had a chance to work, in places that, I never dreamt of going. At the same time, work for a lot of wonderful, wonderful coaches, mentors who have taught me so much, and really blessed to be where I am today as it relates to having this kind of experience and network, as hopefully, I can continue on, move on with my coaching career at some point here soon.
This is episode 7. We are breaking down Miami. But what that means, there have been 6 previous episodes that we have gone through. So make sure that wherever you're consuming this content at, make sure you please go back and listen to the previous episodes as well. And if you enjoy what we're saying, please be sure to share it across your platforms as well. Feel free to do that. Also, subscribe to us, rate us, leave your comments below what you think about Miami, what you think of the ACC this year. But jumping into Miami, they returned their top 3 scorers off of last year's 10-17 team for the 13th place finish in the ACC. Coach Jim Larrañaga enters his 11th year as the head coach at Miami. He's 200 career wins coming in to this season. We mentioned that they returned their top 3 scorers. Their top scorer, first team preseason all ACC member, Isaiah Wong. Isaiah is one of the most feared players, if not the league, in the country, with his ability to score the ball and his offensive capabilities. You've had the game plan against Isaiah Wong as a head coach. Get your team ready for him. Tell me all about Isaiah Wong and what he brings to the table as the guard.
Special talent, Jamie. He's a kid that can score at all 3 levels. Just a gifted scorer. Underrated in terms of his ability to shoot the ball. I think he's a very, very good 3-point shooter. But the ability to he's got a great first step. He's got a lot of what we would call wiggle to his game. He can go by his defender. He's a hard matchup because he's got good size with great length to him. And again, he can go from the perimeter to post down there. He puts a lot of foul pressure, on the defense with his ability to put the ball to the floor. But again, a 3-level scorer, gifted, very, very good 3-point shooter. And he's one of the better, if not the best offensive, returning guard in the ACC in terms of his all-around game. He is a tough matchup for the opposition. And, when you look back at Miami last year, they were decimated with injuries. Early on, they had some big wins. I think they won the ACC Big Ten Challenge. They beat Purdue. And again, as the year went on, you between COVID and injuries, they had a tough run of it, but they've got a nice group here returning, led by Isaiah Wong.
Their second leading scorer coming back this year, Wong's backcourt mate, Cameron McGusty. Cameron started off at Oklahoma. He's now entering his 6th year of college at the University of Miami. 13.3 points for the 6'5" wing, 2.8 assists as well. He looks to have the ability to be able to handle, shoot, pass the ball. How does he complement Isaiah Wong, and what will he bring to the team this year?
Both guards, Jamie. I mean, you look at the returning backcourts within the ACC. I mean, they both bring incredible experience. That's first and foremost. They've been in big games. They've played in virtually every venue. against some of the, best players in the ACC or in college basketball, guys who are now in the NBA. So they understand, they're battle tested. In McGusty's case, he started at Oklahoma, and he's a kid that's a lot older in terms of not only, maybe his age, but his basketball experience and his feel for the game. So when you talk about McGusty, you talk about kind of an old school type guard. Again, deceptive, can score at all three levels, can shoot the three, a willing passer, makes people better. Great size to him, great length, versatility, defensively, has the ability to, you can switch out there on the perimeter with him. He can guard smaller guys, bigger guys. But, when you talk about Miami, you talk about Wong, you talk about McGusty, and then you add in, these other players we'll get to in terms of their backcourt. That's as great a combination, or this might be as experienced a group, talented with experienced group of guards that the collection of these guys together and adding these other players, maybe in the ACC.
Well, let's go ahead and keep on going with this guards that they have, their backcourt. Larinaga went and added depth to the transfer portal with their backcourt. They have super senior Charlie Moore, 6-year college, fourth college that he's been at. Previously Cal, Kansas, DePaul, now Miami. Last year he averaged 14.4 points, 4.2 assists, 1.5 steals, 5'11" point guard. They also went to Larinaga's old stomping grounds, George Mason, to bring in 6'6" senior Jordan Miller. The lefty averaged 15.8 points and 6.1 rebounds, 2 assists per game last year. There's some size, some versatility, and a lot of experience in those two players. How do they complement, and what will they? How do they complement both Wong and McGusty, and what will they bring to the table this year for this Miami team?
Bringing great depth and experience. I mean, and don't forget Harlan Beverly too, right? So they've got, again, when you talk about their backcourt, and you mentioned, obviously Charlie Moore, Jordan Miller, both proven, scorers, guys who have put up huge numbers at their respective schools along the way. And then you add, in Beverly, another experienced guard, who's been in the ACC, who's battle tested. You're talking about 5, experienced players who are all extremely talented, who all proven again, along the way, they're battle tested. And I guess the biggest thing that we're going to have to, kind of watch here is how these guys all mesh together. And the one thing about Coach Larinaga and his staff, they've done an unbelievable job at coaching, talent. And I think sometimes, lost in all of this, as, especially when you look at teams, sometimes the misconception out there is, well, you got all this talent, you should win. That not necessarily, that doesn't really translate all the time. And here's why what I mean by that. It's a lot harder to coach talent, especially experienced talent with that kind of depth, than it is to coach, kids who are coming in that may be a little bit less, regarded in terms of ranking, that kids are going to play a little bit more with a chip on their shoulder. To coach talented guys like this, Coach Larinaga and his staff have shown, whether it's been, Lonnie Walker, Bruce Brown. I mean, he's had success at coaching very talented kids and getting them to mesh within, the system for the collective benefit of the team. And I think in Miami's case, you're going to see a team this year, once they are all bought in to what Coach Larinaga and his staff, want them to do in terms of their role and responsibility. You could conceivably have, Jamie, on any given night, any 5 of those guys could lead Miami in scoring and assist. And, what a luxury to have. And I think that's going to be their biggest, the biggest question is making sure that each one of those guys accepts their role and buys into the team concept. And again, Coach Larinaga and staff have shown they can do that. There's no reason why, we would even question that. But again, if they do that with that collection of experience and talent that they've put together and they stay healthy, last year they were decimated with injuries. Miami is another team this year. We talked about Notre Dame being a sleeper team. You can add Miami to that list also. They've got some real talent in that backcourt with experience coming back.
in researching and preparing for this podcast, one of the things I got kind of excited about was to listen to you go through their offensive identity and go through their X's and O's and the chalk talk with what they try to do on offense. Larinaga has done a great job of kind of morphing what he does on offense to the talent that he has surrounding on his team. This team has a very versatile roster. Multiple guys can shoot it, multiple guys can score it, multiple guys can initiate it off the bounce. Please take us through their offensive identity and show us kind of some of the key factors as to what they're going to try to do on the offensive end of the floor.
Well, Jamie, for me, watching Coach Larinaga's team back when I was coaching at Wichita State, when he was at George Mason, and obviously over this long period in the ACC, you watch Coach Larinaga and his staff, and the one thing that really stands out is they actually play and they allow their players to play to their strengths. And by means of that is, you're going to have multiple possessions throughout a game on offense. And what I believe to be true about, Miami and Coach Larinaga and what he's done is he puts his guys in position to play, what you would say their game, meaning, they want to play, a certain way, and he puts them in those positions. So here's his first clip where we'll show you transition offense, where they're actually pushing the ball on a missed shot here, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the defense by pushing the ball. And watch everybody here get out and run. And you'll see their 5-man running or their first big down to the front of the rim, and everybody else has got great spacing. The one thing about Miami, they run their lanes. They have great spacing, NBA type spacing. And in this clip here, you'll see them run for a layup, which again, they're 5-man runs. They just pitch ahead and they're wide open layup. We're going to watch how fast Miami pushes the ball down the floor in transition and how hard they're running. And as you can see, although they didn't advance the ball up the floor with a pitch ahead, they're really, really putting pressure on the defense by coming down the floor, real fast with the ball in their hands. You'll see a stacked, almost 3 guys on a side here where they have great spacing. And here was what I was trying to get to earlier as it relates to a random ball screen. You're really taught at a young age defensively to get back in transition, especially as a big guy, to run to the paint. And if you do that against Miami and you don't stay what we call connected, staying connected is a huge part of the game plan against a team like Miami, because there's so many ball screens, random ball screens set, that it really puts you at a disadvantage if you don't stay connected. And in this possession, you'll see Florida State's big guy runs to the paint, and now they just run into a random side ball screen, which is an easy guard if the big guy was up there. But it basically breaks down at the point of the ball screen. There was no big guy up there. There's no real coverage now. So now the Miami ball in here just comes off, with a straight line, get off the ball screen, roll to the rim, and they just quickly catch it and finish. And that happened pretty fast, right? And, we talk to young players a lot about the biggest adjustment you have to make going from high school to the higher level Division I programs, the speed of the game. And there was a perfect example of that for the younger audience to see how the ball was placed at a place where the big guy just had to catch it and get it to the rim quickly. Otherwise, there was a 7-3 defender from Florida State closing. But again, random ball screen, not connected, trouble for the defense. In this next possession, you're going to see a double drag, what we call, and it's random. So like now you have 2 big guys from Miami running into a random ball screen. That's called the double drag. Again, empty side. There's nobody below the ball on Miami, so there's no strong side defender there in a position to tag. So what happens here now, you'll see it causes a little confusion. And so the first Miami defender, and those 2 guys could be in any order, right? In this case, the 5-man from Miami set the first one. He rolls, and now Wardenberg, who set the second part of the double drag, we call that cleaning up the double drag. He pops to a wide open shot, and you can see Wardenberg, who was hurt last year, adds another dimension because he can really shoot the three-point shot. And those are what we call random ball screen actions that you have to be aware of when you're getting ready to play Miami. And in those two situations, they were both out of transition, both difficult guards for the opposition. In this next clip, you're going to see kind of another action that Miami likes to run. And, you know, we talked about Coach Larinaga and his staff playing to the strength of his guys. The one thing that, you know, the game has kind of, you know, evolved into, especially when you talk about the NBA, is being able to utilize or use ball screens. In this possession here, you're going to see what would be a kind of a simple, dribble, hit. And all we're seeing here is the trail big stepping out, just catching it and reversing the ball. The opposite guard here pops out into that, to that slot, opposite slot. He's receiving a pass. And the point guard who actually initiated the offensive possession by hitting the wing just kind of cuts through the elbow and pops out. And in this case here, you're going to see what you kind of call a running ball screen, where the big guy from Miami is running out to set a ball screen. Miami's three other offensive players are kind of spread out. The spacing might not be great here in terms of that slot guy. However, because the Miami big guy is running into this ball screen and he feels the Virginia defender kind of getting in a position where he's cheating to his coverage. The Virginia defender, the ball screen defender, the big guy, is declaring his coverage a little early. And so the Miami big guy just slips to the basket. And in this case, because Miami has two players lifted above the free throw line, one player in that, that dead corner, deep corner position, they just roll the big and Miami scores in that possession. So again, another example of ball screen utilization where Miami is playing to the strengths of the individual players with great spacing, well drilled, and you can see what happens if the defense breaks down, one guy breaks down in a possession. In this next possession, what we call roll and replace. So now you have Miami in a situation where they have two guys in each corner. They have their five-man setting a ball screen towards the side of the floor. So more of a side ball screen that's kind of straddling the three-point line. And so in this case, their other big, which is their four-man in this case, Wardenberg, is low. Now he's a shooter. So Miami's offensive player comes off the ball screen. The Minnesota defender really doesn't need any coverage at the point here because he's not coming off that aggressively. But the problem is that when he does come off, now the big guy Miami actually occupies his defender by posting ceiling down there. And then Wardenberg just turns and dribble handoffs here. And in this case here, you can see now that was a pretty good defense by Minnesota, right? Now you're getting hit with another random ball screen with NBA spacing. And in this case now, he's probing on this. And what happens, the Miami defender is rolling straight line right to the front of the rim. He's going to occupy the tag guy. So we call that defender that's guarding the Miami offensive player. He's kind of in a position where you play tag when you're younger. You want to get out there and impede that big guy's progress to the basket by engaging him almost like with a tag type disposition. What happens though here is the Miami offensive player does a nice job of filling behind, and because the tag was a little low, just a little bit, that's what separates the BCS leagues, specifically the ACC, that if you are not almost perfect in that tag position, the offense is so well drilled by Coach Larinaga and his staff that he just fills right behind. He's shot ready. And now, again, this might look like it's contested, but it's really not. He's got a clear look at the basket and they make you pay. Again, another example of Miami's, various types of ball screens that they'll set with different guys at different spots on the floor and playing to the strengths of their guys.
With all the talk that we've had about the guard play, the experience they have, and all that, they also have some front court players coming back too. Most notably, 6'9" Anthony Walker, 9.6 points, 4.7 rebounds last year, 16 starts. He's a unique player in length and athleticism. Talk a little bit about the X factor Anthony Walker brings to this team.
Well, Jamie, Anthony Walker's another kid that I've recruited in high school, out of high school, went to Brewster Academy, and he's really done a nice job in terms of, kind of developing and improving his overall game on both ends of the floor. Again, it's another thing I don't think Miami and their coach Larinaga and staff get enough credit for is their development. And in Anthony Walker's case, he's a kid that's always had a tremendous motor, played exceptionally hard on both ends of the floor. Versatile defender. You could play and switch ball screens with him. You could play him with a big lineup. He could show, and you could do a lot of different things with him defensively. Very, very long, very athletic. Another guy that can block shots. Some of the guys that we've seen don't maybe have Anthony's versatility and his ability to change and block shots. Offensively, he's developed his game. He's a guy that's now stepping out and making 3-point shots for them. But again, offensive guy that can get on the glass. He can, create, havoc for the opposition because he's so active on the offensive glass. But a guy that's going to bring tremendous energy for them in the front court this year with some added experience and development. I think he's going to make a huge impact.
We've talked a lot about how injuries have ravaged the roster last season. This year, this Miami team returns two guys they didn't have last year because of injury. But it's almost like adding two new big players to their roster with starting experience. Rodney Miller back in 2019-20, the 7-footer, 7.2 points, 5.5 rebounds on 28 starts. Sam Wardenberg, whom you mentioned in the offensive stuff, 6'10", he had 24 starts in 2019-20, 5.9 points, 6 rebounds, 1.1 blocks per game. How big is it to add, no pun intended with the big, how big is it to add these 6'10" and 7-footer to this roster and lineup to complement the guard play?
You touched on it, Jamie, the experience that both those guys bring, to Miami's front court. And we talked about Walker, really kind of completes Miami's team in terms of from top to bottom. They're probably the most experienced, deepest team with their guard play as well as their front court in the ACC returning this year with all the, guys who have gone to the NBA and transfer portal stuff. Miami is really deep, but in talking about those two guys, I mean, Wardenberg has been a staple for them since he got to campus. I mean, it really hurt them to have him out last year. Very savvy, skilled forward. You can play him at either, forwards. You can play him small to 3. You can play him big at the big at the 3, and small at the 5 if you wanted to. But his natural position is that of a forward, a face-up 4-man. He can really shoot the 3-point shot, and that adds another dimension in the front court that they lost last year without him. So savvy, skilled player, experience. He's a guy and he plays with great energy. And he plays hard, night in and night out. So he's going to add another dimension there in the front court. And you mentioned Miller, Jamie. Miller is a big, strong 5-man who has developed offensively into a guy that you can throw the ball to in the post and he can score or get fouled against anybody. So, you add those two guys with their experience and what they bring to the table, as well as Walker. And then you add the entire collection of their guard play, as well as some of the kids that transferred in, Jordan Miller, et cetera. This is a team that's poised, if they stay healthy, to have a really good season this year under Coach Larinaga and his staff.
We went through the offense, the multiple looks that they give you, and how he kind of adapts to his personnel. Well, he's got quickness at the guards, he's got length at the forwards, and he's got big dudes at the posts. I know that Jim Larinaga likes to press. He likes to play man-to-man. He likes to use his athleticism and the depth win his lineups. Take us through what he is known to do on the defensive end and how he's going to be able to play on that end of the court with this team that he has this year and what he's going to try to accomplish.
Defensively, Jamie, this is the type of team that he's going to have a lot of choices in terms of how they want to play. The one thing about Coach Larinaga and his staff, I mean, defensively, again, another kind of underrated or underappreciated theme to Miami is how hard they play defensively. With this type of depth, and with Coach Larinaga's past, I'm sure they're going to look to extend their defense full court. In the past, he's done a lot, and I can get into this and show you some clips here in a minute in terms of what we would call running, jumping at the ball. They do it both ways in the full court, where they'll run at the ball and everybody else will rotate up. They'll have those interceptors and goaltenders. And then they'll do it in the half court where, either they'll designate somebody or they'll do it last man over half and they'll run at the ball. And they'll take that shape of, kind of shooting the gaps with those interceptors and having a goaltender back there that could protect the rim. I'd like to show that if I could, Jamie, here in terms of, how I believe they're going to get after it this year. And even if they're not trapping, they're going to extend 94 feet with this type of depth and really try to wear down the opposition, especially having this many options, from not only the guards, even their bigs can get out and defend out on the floor too, especially Wardenberg and Walker. So in this first clip, I'm going to show you what it's like when Coach Larinaga in Miami like to run and jump in the full court. And you can see the ball is entered here on a dead ball, and the ball actually is given. And you're going to see as soon as the offensive player here clears the ball, meaning he gets by the line of the ball, that defender that's guarding him will try to jump, what we call run and jump the ball. And when they do that, they're trying to close the trap. Responsibilities are simple. Don't get beat sideline by the man guarding the ball. And at the same time, the man who's running at the ball, not to try to let the ball handler beat him, going towards the middle. And in this case here, you'll see that trap that occurs in the run and jump in the full court. And you're going to see the back line, which now, the guys are rotating up. So you have two interceptors and a goaltender. And you can see how this could cause problems, for the offense. And look, at any time, even if they don't get the steal, in this case, you're going to see them run and jump, get a steal in the full court, and they're going to finish. But even if they don't get it, they're going to get the game playing at a faster pace. They're going to try to increase possessions. And again, anytime you have this type of talent and this type of depth, you want as many possessions as you can, because usually that favors the team with more depth and talent. In the second clip, you're going to see them do it in the half court now, where now they're coming over half court, and the last man over half, his man actually runs at the ball. Same type of principles, except now it puts even more pressure on the offense because they can't throw the ball into the backcourt because they've entered the front court. And those are ideal trap spots, like one step over half court, on the sideline there. You use the sideline as an extra defender. That defender there now can, really put pressure on the ball. And now the guy running at the ball, as you can see, is running at him, and you can see the back line once again takes the shape of two interceptors and a goaltender, and they can create offense, as you see here in this possession. In this next clip, Jamie, we've talked about Miami this year with this depth, being able to create some offense through their defense. And I think you're going to see a lot of this. I mean, with teams setting a lot of ball screens and with this type of versatility in their front court and depth in the back court, here's a perfect clip that kind of illustrates what I believe to be a way Miami is going to play a lot more this year when it comes to ball screen coverages. And in this case, you'll see a double drag that's set by Notre Dame here, and you'll see Miami kind of trap the ball. And now they're in a position where you'll see the interceptor here, which is one pass away guarding Jogo. And then there should be another interceptor there, near the top of the key. The goaltender would actually be the opposite wing for Miami. He should be dropping low. But with this type of trap and this type of length, and they close it, they use that sideline as the extra defender, it's hard for the ball handler to make a pass, over the top of that. And watch how they stay in the possession with the same philosophy here. So Notre Dame, now sets another kind of a random ball screen. They don't even use it. And now they trap it again. And now you have, again, the interceptor, which is, he's going towards his side. And now you have that what you'd call that, almost like that other interceptor shooting the gap and stealing the ball. And then again, creating some offense through their defense. Jamie, I believe this year's Miami team is going to play a lot more aggressive man to man, really trying to extend pressure. And at any time, whether it's full court traps, maybe some full court pressure, as well as some half court run and jump, and just showing you some ball screen trap coverages. I think Miami's going to be a team this year that's really going to give teams fits, with their depth in the backcourt and with their versatility in the front court by really trying to create some offense through their defense.
You talked about the depth of this Miami team's already bringing in, the returners, the experience they have. They also bring in a top 30 recruiting class, the 3-man class. They have 6'1" Bensley Joseph out of Putnam, a 3-star. They have number 96 ranked Ja'Kai Robinson out of Maryland, the 6'4" wing. And then the number 78 player out of Philadelphia, Nassim Poplar, 6'5". I know that you've recruited these guys. You've seen a lot of these guys, some more than others and all that. But take us through what this class, take us through what the expectations of this class would be coming into a veteran group, and what type of roles that they'll need to fit into to be able to play and have success.
In this year's group, Jamie, they're very talented. Obviously, they're very highly regarded. They're all ranked guys. I've seen each one of these kids play a significant amount over the last several years. And all of them bring some form of dimension that can help Miami. Probably the best attribute that these three collective guys are going to bring this year is just added depth. Miami's team is so deep right now with experienced players that these young guys are going to get an opportunity to kind of learn, by playing against those guys every day in practice. Obviously, Bensley is that, point guard, combo guard from up in this area. I've seen him play quite a bit, as well as, both of the 6'5" guys, that they've recruited are kind of those versatile, wing guard forward type players that bring added versatility with a kind of a unique skill set. And I think if those three guys collectively bring anything this year, it might not be measured in terms of statistics in the box score, but it's going to be measured in terms of how much better they get in practice, how much energy they can bring off the bench. And again, maybe we're surprised. Sometimes, as you know, Jamie, you get one of these guys that comes in as a freshman and beats out a veteran guy. But, for all intents and purposes, this Miami team is really deep, and they've got great experience, as we've talked about, in the backcourt as well as the front court. And I think those three guys just, again, they add more depth, they add more talent, they add more versatility. And, they're going to continue to keep getting better as the year goes. And I'm sure, again, their box score contributions or the statistics might not be, mind-boggling in terms of how much or what their numbers are. But I do think they're going to add real value to this team, not just, in games, but in practice and as their careers develop. Three guys who are extremely talented players.
Looking through this Miami roster, they have good guards and they have experience. That is a very good combination for winning in college basketball. Coming off of last year's season, not a lot of expectations externally for this Miami program. However, the recipe with the depth, the talent, the experience is in place. Scott, what are your expectations? Obviously knowing these players, having coached these guys, we've just gone through their entire roster, what they're trying to do and everything. What are your expectations for this Miami team, and how good could they actually be this season?
This is a sleeping giant team, Jamie. If they stay healthy, which last year, obviously they didn't, but this is the type of team that could be dangerous as it relates to being a team that makes a run, not only in the regular season in the ACC, but in the NCAA tournament. They have what every college program is looking for this day and age. One, they have great experience, unbelievable experience, proven experience with productivity at all five spots. Then you add that with, depth with the same combination of experience and proven productivity amongst even the reserves. And then you take on top of that the young, talented group they brought in this recruiting class. And then you kind of put everything together and you have a tremendous, obviously Coach Larinaga and his staff. And again, this team right here is built to win, not only in the regular season and within the ACC. This team is built to make a run, a deep run, potentially in the NCAA tournament, as long as they stay healthy. So if their chemistry and health, both those two things are going to be key components to what I believe to be attributing to how far this team can go. But they have every ingredient that you'd want, in this day and age in college basketball. And they, keep your eye on the Hurricanes this year, Jamie, as they're another team. We talked about, Notre Dame as a sleeper team. This is a team that's built to win at a very, very high level this year, not only in the regular season, but come March.
And there it is. Keep your eye out for the Hurricanes this upcoming season. And that wraps up episode 7, the breakdown of the Miami Hurricanes for the upcoming year. But before we get out of here, we give you the normal, what we asked for. If you would, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast or YouTube channel, whichever one you're listening to it on. If you would, comment below what you think of Miami this year, what you think of the ACC this year. And rate us. Give us a 5-star rating. That helps us get out to more people, get this information out to more people as well. Also, too, this is our 7th episode. Go back and listen to our previous 6. We've gone through with 6 episodes already. Gone just as in depth with all of them as we have here as we make this travel through the ACC. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. I am Jamie Shaw for my co-host Scott Spinelli. Thank you guys very much.